Gary, it's fun for me. Uh, I've been in the trade. I hate to say this, but I've been in the trade for 40 years. And I did this before I got out of high school. And as soon as I graduated high school, here's your keys, here's your van, here's a compressor, and here's an address. You're now changing compressors for us. So go through all of that history to come over here to where we're at now with Bluon. And I taught for 25 years as well during that whole 40 years. So for me, it's fun. I love giving back to, the HVAC community. And the old adage, and what gripes me is the guys that aren't willing to help, and they come up with the standard, just to
Oh
get
yeah,
somebody off their back. And it's like,
TXV.
we don't, yeah, we don't. It's just that always irked me. And so being able to come into this, the Bluon platform, where we've got the tech support, and now we've got our forum, where we can not only help guys who can call in on the phone, but they can also, just type a message in. You're familiar. Type a message in, and we get back with them. So yeah, it's still. You guys see the smile on my face. It doesn't go away. I'm smiling from the time I get up till the time I finally get to go to bed.
Well, that's good that you enjoy doing what you're doing, and you were a teacher, and now you're trying to help over the phone and trying to help online. And if you enjoy that, that means you're a teacher at heart. And a teacher at heart is a special person because they got all the patience, they got all the joy of helping, and they like to see their students grow through time. And I think that is really that's the gift that you get back
Yeah,
from teaching is
absolutely.
you see that the progress in your students and knowing that you taught them that.
Yeah, and I mean, we've been rolling out this platform for quite a while, but it's funny, heartwarming. I don't know exactly how to put it into words for you, Gary, but I've created friends, and these guys have my phone number, and I know what's going on with their families. And these are guys all over the country.
Yeah.
I know what's going on with their families. I check in with them just to see how they're doing, because I have grown them up. It's these kids that are coming in and have nobody to turn to. And, a lot of these guys, I'm Mr. Bryan. So it's really cool, and very rewarding.
So let's since I told you that video got a bunch of views, let's talk about your Buckle Up series and what you're trying to accomplish. And like it's a live series, and you guys do it once a week at this point,
It is every other Thursday.
every other Thursday. Okay, sorry.
Every other Thursday at 4 o'clock p.m. Pacific time.
All right.
And tomorrow is going to be our next one. So I think the popularity on that is almost to the point, Gary, where we're going to have to start doing it weekly. But
Well,
the
I
point,
don't I don't know why I had it in my head that you did it weekly. Maybe it's just because I'm seeing them so frequently, and it's going through my feeds, and I'm also posting them when Jess sends me the videos. Maybe it's just so in my head that I thought it was once a week. But yeah, if you need to do it once a week to get the fans all butterflying around the video, then yeah, for sure, do it.
well, it's definitely, again, that one's fun for me, because it is based on training, and being able to take a period of time and explain the topic and what's on Mike's mind and what's on my mind, as far as coming to a resolve to help these guys troubleshoot different areas or what to look for. And then the guys come in with their feedback and their questions. And dude, it's again, it's I come out of Studio B, as I call it, and I've got such an adrenaline high. I've got to like run around in the parking lot.
Well, you are drinking Pepsi too, right? Diet
Yeah,
Pepsi.
I do. It's Diet Pepsi, so I'm sure the caffeine doesn't help. Because
I
it's hot.
actually
It's
I,
hot in
ima- I
Studio B.
oh yeah, I would imagine it is. I'm drinking like a matcha green tea right now. It's got some caffeine in it too, but it's good. It's good. It's nice and healthy for you. So let's talk about tech support. I'm really interested because I've never actually had a conversation with somebody in tech support on the podcast to talk about how. I mean, I'm sure that you run through a bunch of emotions. I'm sure there's frustration. I'm sure there's joy. I'm sure there's all kinds of things that go through your mind when you're talking to somebody. So tell us what it's like sitting in a I don't know where you sit when you do this, maybe at home or in the
It
office.
depends. Yeah, it really
Yeah.
depends on where
So
I'm at, brother.
so taking these calls from people and what is that like just to sit and run tech support for other techs?
So yeah, let me start right with the basics, Gary. With the I am either in the office, I'm on the road, or I'm at home. So my situation is I've got the headset on, just like I do right now, and the phone rings, and I'm talking to these guys. If I'm in the car, I put it on the audio in the car. And when I get home, we set up at whatever table is not being occupied by my family. And I've got a lot of tables to choose from, and a really nice family. So, um, but it's you don't know what's coming through the line until you say hello.
Yeah.
So many guys have heard me go, "Thanks for calling Bluon Tech Support. This is Bryan. How can I destroy your day?" Um, because they're just as nervous calling me as I should be having them call me, because I don't know what they're calling me for. So I usually try and do that icebreaker. It's like they're not ready for that. And then, these guys, I know that they're used to calling factory. And these guys that are calling factory, it's what is the factory's questions? What's the make? What's the model? What's the serial? And okay, hold on, let me look that unit up. But when you call in here, when you call into the Bluon Tech Support line, it 90% of the time we don't need the model number. If I have to look something up, then yeah, we're going to get down to the nuts and bolts. But if I've got a kid calling in and he doesn't have power on the Y wire, it's like, okay, where are you at? Are you at the condenser? You at the furnace? I'm at the condenser. Okay, go back to the furnace or the air handler. Do you have it there? No. Okay, go look at the thermostat. Takes thermostat off the wall. He says there's no Y wire here. Okay, well, that made a simple service call right there. Let's see if we can't figure out why they didn't hook up the Y wire at the stat. So you
So
you you talk about the guy that calls in, and you can tell he's been on the job for hours. If he's got any hair left, he's getting ready to pull it
yeah,
out.
yeah, I've been
And
there.
and I love those guys as well as I love the kids that call in, because that's the guy. It's like, okay, dude, back up. Just stop, turn around. I don't want you to look at the machine right now. I'm going to ask you a series of questions, but just stop, take a breath. If you smoke, go have a smoke. You got a cup of coffee in your truck, go down, get your coffee. Let's reset. And then we go back and we look at it. And it's nice to have them. I refer it to them getting them off the wall, because they're getting ready to jump off the roof. And to be able to talk to them and bring them down and get them calmed down to where they can see the unit again, brand new through my eyes. And
Makes
then,
sense.
we talk about these silly examples, but I had one gentleman that called in. I was able to calm him down, and it wasn't hard to calm him down. It's like we built a rapport before, and it's like, all right, man, I've told you this before, so just take a deep breath and tell me what you're looking at. And he's telling me what he's looking at. And I go, that doesn't sound right. And he's all, I've been staring at this thing for 2 hours and it doesn't sound right. It doesn't look right either. And it's like, okay, man. So I bring up the model number and the wiring diagram, and I'm looking at it and I'm going, okay, you got 4 terminals. You got 2 gray wires and 2 orange wires. He goes, yeah, the gray ones are on one side and the orange ones are on the other. I said, okay, take one of the orange ones and one of the gray ones, disconnect them, swap them. So you got a gray one and an orange one and a gray one and an orange one. Missed it in the wiring diagram. He'd been there for a couple of hours. That's why he was so frustrated. He couldn't get the machine to do nothing. Is the way the guy that was there before him that changed the switch wired it wrong.
See, I can attest to what you're saying is walk away and take a break, because I've had days where at the end of the day, I'm super frustrated, but I'll go home. Maybe the problem still exists. I'll go home, eat dinner, have a good sleep, come back the next day, and I find the problem in like 10 minutes.
You
Because
walk right up to it.
yeah,
Absolutely.
because I'm refreshed, my mind is reset. I'm back to, okay, let's tackle this from a point of view where we're not frustrated, where we're relaxed, and we're going to go through this step by step. And it hits you like all of a sudden you're like, oh my god, how did I miss this yesterday? And it's all because you walked away and gave your brain a break. So that's great that you do that off the bat.
Yeah, I got you. You have to. I mean, you get these again. You get somebody that is rattled, and they don't always show it. But it's like, okay, you need to listen to the question I'm asking. Don't think ahead. You know. Um, so it's a lot of, I guess, is counseling. I don't know.
Well,
A
it kind
20,
of is. Yeah, it kind of
25 years of teaching and all the different personalities, Gary. In that 25 years, you learn to. I learned to listen to them, and we've got 20 guys over here answering the phone. Um, so now I get to coach them. Our team is fantastic over here. It's just everybody has the same attitude. It's not one of them that I can call and not have them laughing within the first 30 seconds of us getting on the phone.
that's awesome. So the twenty people you have answering the phone, they're all in tech support, answering the phone, helping out guys in the field.
Yeah, we got 20 guys strictly on tech support. That has nothing to do with new guys coming on and talking to the onboarding team. We have 20 guys answering the phone 24/7
Wow,
and monitoring the forum and getting back to guys with manuals. If it's not in the app, we don't want these guys stuck on a job. So we're jumping on it, man.
so. How many calls do you guys think you get a day, like in total, in a 24-hour period?
We are averaging, we're coming out of summer, and so right now we're averaging about 125 a day. During the summer, we were up. Our peak day was 210 calls that came in, so we were averaging like 175 to 180 a day.
That's a decent amount of calls, and you guys are still answering the phone in a timely manner rather than having techs on hold for a long time, right?
Yeah, well, it's yes. I'm just gonna say yes. We still have our most of the calls are covered within 2 minutes.
That's great.
Picked up and talked to. Um, you know, the world is not perfect, and there are guys that go to what we call a missed call list, and as soon as the guy gets off the phone, then he picks up that missed call. So
Gotcha.
5, 6 minutes maybe he had to wait.
Well, I've called some tech support and left a message and gotten a response like a week later. And it's like, what do you do with that? Like, I'm gone from the building. I'm not there. It's out of my head, and now I'm supposed to help you answer the questions that you know what I mean. I can't deal with stuff like that. I find the support from a lot of manufacturers have dropped off lately, and you guys have really stepped up big time to do this. So
I
it's
appreciate that.
yeah, no, you guys have like I've talked to people that have called you guys and worked through problems, and they are ecstatic that they can call you guys instead of calling their journeyman or their boss or their owner or their manager, because when they call them, they feel like they're I don't know what the word is. Maybe they don't want to reveal to them that they're having struggles and having problems. So when they call you guys and they leave the call and it's fixed, it makes them look like a bit of a hero, right? And it makes them look good to their superiors.
Nobody ever wants to call the boss and tell the boss they don't know what they're looking at.
Nope, nobody wants to do that. You need
Nobody wants
somebody on the
nobody
other
wants
line.
that. We're all human. So yes, having an avenue for them to go down and be able to call me on the phone and go, all right, man, I got 4 units up here. Can you help me? And it's like, yeah, let's go pick one.
I know that you must have some, like, you got a call that might be in your head or written down somewhere that you think is a good scenario for us to walk through that somebody could learn from that's listening or watching this?
Oh, Gary, I've got so many calls in my head. The best, I've had guys call me at 3. I woke me up at 3 o'clock in the morning. He's on a roof. He's 2 years into the trade. He got on call. He traveled to a different state for a service call on a roof. And whatever the circumstances were on his roof, he could not figure out that he had a bad compressor. He couldn't get his hands on the compressor. So that gentleman, it's like, okay, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, dude. You got my attention. We're here. So I walked him through electrical troubleshooting one of the compressors, his dual compressor machine, and walking him through that and him being able to see that the compressor was grounded without having his hands on the compressor, disabled the compressor, safed off the electrical, restarted the machine, and the machine went back to 50% capacity. And excuse me, I probably talked to him 2 years ago on that particular call. So you talk about the ones that you remember. But 6 months ago, this gentleman called in. It was 5 o'clock on a Friday night, and he called in, and again, walking through a scenario with him. And I don't remember the scenario, but I remember this. And he goes, "Is this Bryan?" And I went, "Yeah, this is Bryan." And he goes, "You probably don't remember me, but I called you at 3 o'clock in the morning from this roof and you helped me." And it's like, yeah, man, I don't remember your voice. I don't remember your name, but I remember that call.
That's awesome. So tell me what you mean by without putting his hands on the compressor, he figured it. You helped him figure it out. It was grounded.
Oh, sure. So because he would have to rip the machine apart, and most of the times when we are troubleshooting compressors and we believe that they're grounded, we'll have you take the pecker head off and actually ohm the compressor to ground at the terminals at the compressor. But because he could not gain access to it, he did everything from the electrical cabinet, the control section. So I just had him take the wires that went to that compressor off the contactor, and then with the wires presumably connected on the compressor, which we ohmed it first, and then we ohmed it to ground. So just taking the wires off the contactor and not actually having physical terminals at the compressor.
Gotcha. So then you had him isolate it, right? And then was it fuses or breakers that, yeah, he had to change fuses or reset a breaker or something like that?
No, that compressor was actually grounded, and that was taking his machine down. So yes, he ended up having to change the fuses in
Gotcha.
the machine to get it back online after we
Okay.
found the grounded compressor.
Awesome. So you
But it
just
had 2
isolated it.
compressors in it. So he isolated that one. I told him, I said, just safe it off, and had to explain to him what safe off is. And that's the wires you disconnected, you wrap with tape so that they don't make contact with live electrical or anybody else that sticks their digits in there. And then we got the machine back online. But
I've never heard that term safe off before. Is that common as you came through the trade?
well, yeah, we always safed everything off. It was I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how else to I don't know how else to phrase it, Gary. That is one of my terms that I grew up with. So
Awesome. I've never heard that term before, and well, it's a good it's a good, like, you got to cap those lines somehow, because I've seen it where one of my coworkers told me at one point he was working on a package rooftop unit, and he was doing a call or a PM, I don't remember, but he had opened up the panel and the induced draft motor um, was disconnected, but the wires were just cut.
Yeah.
They weren't stripped back, but they were just cut. So there was exposure to the wire through the insulator, right? So it
Yep.
wasn't safe off as you would call it. It wasn't taped or
Well,
we
you know,
call them.
there's two terms. You can lock out, tag out. Everybody's familiar with that one. You got your padlock, and you have some type of device to secure. So that's basically what you're doing when you have an electrical component that you need to ensure doesn't hurt the next guy coming in or doesn't come in contact and take the machine down. And you can't do a lockout tag out. So how are you going to lock out tag out a wire end like your example where somebody had just cut the line? So, you have to safe it off, put a wire nut on it, bend it back, tape it up, whatever the case may be, to make sure that the next person touching that machine does not get damaged.
Mhm. Now, let me ask you this: Is it so? I'm gonna go from my perspective, and I'm gonna ask you on yours. So when I get calls from apprentices or junior sort of technicians in my company
Mm-hmm.
all the time to help, but when they're calling me, I can visualize the equipment because they're usually calling them on with a place that I've been before, and I know where things are, and I know the history and all that, and it's easier for me to visualize in my head. So for you, you're getting calls with stuff you've never seen in your life. Now, does that present a bit of a hurdle? Like, how do you get around visualizing that in your mind when you're trying to help?
Well, um, funny as it is, you're absolutely right. I picture every job in my head as if I was sitting right next to the guy. So it depends on the machine that he's working on. And if I'm not familiar with that machine, I have him describe it to me because I understand what control cabinets look like. I understand what an air handler looks like. So I can still put the pieces together. And if we're still not getting it, if we're still not going down the same path, then I either have them send me a picture of what they're looking at, or I'm looking at the wiring diagram or a system breakdown. Uh, Depends on how far into the weeds we get.
Okay. Do you ever have them send you pictures or videos or anything like that, just so you can get a better like
Yes,
visual on it? Okay.
yes. I have them text me pictures of what they're looking at so that I can help them, because it's like, especially if you're dealing with auxiliaries. And when things don't make sense and you're dealing with a junior mechanic, it doesn't make sense to them either. They've got, some experience, but they're troubleshooting a machine that they're not familiar with. And when I say a machine they're not familiar with, these junior mechanics, they're used to the residential single compressor, um, for you and me blow and go units. But then all of a sudden they have to move up because nobody else is available, and they get into light commercial. Light commercial has two compressors, and they're going, I don't get it. I don't understand it. So that's where they can't see the forest for the tree. And when I say that is I'm trying to get somebody to walk through this, and I thought I had it pretty well pictured in my head, but he made a statement, and it's like, you take a picture of every corner of that, because he's talking about a contactor. So I want the left side, the right side, top side, bottom side. Send 4 pictures to me. Come to find out, once he sent me the pictures, it's like, okay, do you know where the coil's at? Because it was a new piece of equipment to him, he missed the basics. There was no control voltage wires on the coil. They were
Yeah,
sitting
that'll
they
do it.
were sitting to the side. So yes, by having them send me a picture, as soon as I opened up the picture, I went, I found your problem. That brown wire is not connected to anything. You got to take that brown wire, put it back on the contactor coil.
Yeah, visuals help, and I'm going to give you an example of what happened last week with me. So I'm working on an engineered air unit. I don't know if you guys see many engineered air units out. in California. They're basically makeup air units, and they're engineered to the specifics of the job. And their factory is actually just north of Toronto here, where I'm at. But they're a popular brand around here, and I get a call that there's water dripping into a laboratory, and the guy from maintenance calls me. He's like, "We open up the blower door, and there's a ton of water inside of it." And I said, "Okay, it was raining last night, and that blower door is under a negative, or that blower section's under a negative, so the rain must be getting sucked in." And we get there. He said he cleaned up all the water, and he goes, "Oh, it must be coming from the pan." I go, "I don't think so." I said, I've been here all summer. I've looked in this thing. There hasn't been water in there. The thing's in like dehumidification all summer. The P trap is like Niagara Falls. It just keeps pouring and pouring water over and over and over. It doesn't stop, right? So I said, "I've looked in this thing in the middle of the summer. There's no water in it." I said, "Think about this. Last night was raining, and I held the door and I let it go, and it slammed shut. And I go, do you see that pressure, that negative pressure? The rain is coming in somehow." And we put our hand around it. We could feel a ton of air coming in from different spots of the door. But specifically, there was a piano hinge running down the side of the door where you open it, the opposite side of the door where the latch is. And there was like perforations where the hinges were, and you could feel a ton of air being sucked in there. So I said, "You know what? I'm going to call Engineered Air, and I'm going to see if they've encountered this before and see if they have a solution." So I called them up. He's like, "Can you send me pictures?" And I said, "Yes, I'll send you pictures of what it looks like." So I sent him pictures. He calls me back. As soon as I sent him the pictures, he goes, "I know what your problem is." I go, "What's that?" He goes, "That piano hinge should be the way the piano hinge was. It was almost flat, like flanged against the panel of the unit. Right. And it should have been actually folded and slid in. And when you do that, the holes, the perforations disappear, right?" And he goes, "That's probably exactly where it's coming in from." And I said, "I think it is too. For the time being, what we had done is we just got some foam tape and put it in behind there because it looked like more rain was coming and we didn't want any more water getting sucked in." So that's what we did, and we sealed up the door a bit better, and there hasn't been any water. I think it rained on the weekend there, and there wasn't any water that got in. So it was just negative pressure, and the visual from the engineer tech support guy, he knew exactly what was wrong as soon as he saw the picture.
As soon as you can see it,
just from experience. Yeah.
But it is also fun having these guys walk up to units that I've worked on for years, and it's like, okay, the condenser fan relay, it's the two S6 relays in the upper right hand corner. Control voltage is on the bottom, power is on the top.
Yeah.
And don't forget the timer over on the left. Those are good ones. And how many times do you get tested, Gary?
Tested? What do you mean? Like in the field?
Yeah, when guys are calling you for support, how many times do you get tested?
All the time. It happened yesterday, right? Okay, this is what happened yesterday. I'll tell you this, and then you're going to give me another story. So yesterday, I had one of the junior. He's newly licensed, but he's been in our company for a while, and he's a smart dude. Tries really hard, and he wants to do a good job all the time. So he calls me and he goes, "I can't get any superheat out of this thing." He fixed the leak, and then there's two evaporators for this one condensing unit. It's a 15-ton condensing unit, two 7.5-ton evapes. So there's two blowers, and they run side by side continuously. So he couldn't get any superheat. And I said, "Well, first of all, I think that thing has an unloader on it." I said, "I would try to get the thing fully loaded. You don't want to run it unloaded when you're trying to set up the superheat. Try to get it loaded up." And I said, "I think it's a mechanical device on one of the heads." And he goes, "How does it work?" And I'm like, damn, I got to remember how this thing works now. I said, you might want to just look it up to see, because when he called me back, he goes, "Okay, I looked it up." And when he described it to me again, there's a nut on the top that when you turn the nut down, it unloads. When you turn it up, it loads up. And then I'm like, yes, that's how it works. You're right. I hadn't worked on one in so long. So I got tested there by trying to give the guy a hand, but we figured it out. I said, just do yourself a favor and do me a favor too. Look it up, read about it, and call me back, and we'll talk.
Depending upon the unloader, it's 3.5 pounds per turn.
Is it okay?
Yeah, that's what I've we we get a lot of gentlemen that call into the tech support line, and it's like, I just downloaded this and I just want to really see if this is real, and it's like, yeah, it's real. And then they ask me questions out of the blue. It's like, are you on a job site? No, not on a job site. I'm just, I want to see how good the tech support is. And it's like, okay, throw it at me, man. I've been doing this for 40 years. Let's go.
Hey, I did that to you.
Well, and then I proved my age, didn't I?
Yeah. So hit us up with another story that sticks out in your mind.
Oh man. No low voltage. The no low voltage wire at the thermostat. That was actually today. The kid's not getting 24 volts to the condensing unit on his yellow wire, and come to find out there was no yellow wire hooked up at the thermostat. It's like, I don't know how long ago it ran, but it's going to be pretty hard to run without a yellow wire. Another gentleman calling in, and it's like rookie mistakes. And again, I told you, I get to build a rapport with these guys. I've got repeat callers, and I had one kid that got getting stuck on Saturdays. He was the tech on call, and he's calling me. He's going, man, I don't want to call my foreman. I don't want to call my foreman. It's like, yeah. So I asked him what his voltage was at the air handler, and he goes, well, the light's on, so it's got to be 220. And it's like, where's your meter? Well, my meter's in the truck. It's like, okay, dude, look, you don't go outside the house with your pants off, and you don't go on a service call without your meter.
I agree. I told one of my coworkers that I said, "Can I borrow your refrigeration service wrench?" Because I was working with him and it was his tools. He goes, "Oh, it's in the truck." And I'm like, "Why? Why is it your refrigeration service wrench in the truck? Come on."
Yeah. Yeah. So I remember that one because I had built a rapport with that kid, and I asked him. I said, "Have you ever seen NCIS?" And he says, "Yeah, I've seen that." I said, "So you're familiar with the Gibbs?" And he goes, "Yeah, I'm familiar with the Gibbs." I said, "Okay, if I was standing right next to you, I'd give you a Gibbs." And he actually smacked himself in the back of the head, which is a Gibbs. He did it for me. And you guys wonder why I enjoy doing this. It's being able to educate these guys. It's being able to help others, and it comes down to giving back. I had a great bunch of people that brought me up in this trade that I never felt bad about calling and asking questions. And Gary, I'm going to age myself again. I had dimes in my pocket because I had to stop at payphones to call people and have them call me back. So we spent a lot of time, a lot of evenings sitting around a dining room table with somebody discussing problems because we didn't have that ability on a job site. If you weren't with somebody, you had nobody to ask. But fortunately for me, coming up in the trade, I had some great journeymen. I had pipe fitters that I worked with. I had equipment installers, sheet metal workers. Yeah, these guys were fantastic to me, and I've been fortunate through my whole entire career that there's only been a couple of people that I didn't get along with, and that.
Well, they must have been assholes if they can't get along with you.
No, I'm one of them, so it's okay. but it's few and far between. Um, there's people that I don't understand it, Gary, but there are people that don't like me.
Hey, there's people that I don't understand why people don't like me either. Happens all the time.
I'm sweet, kind, and lovable, man.
Every we've all got haters. We've all got haters. But let me ask you this. So you've been in the trade for 40 years, and you can talk to other people that have been in the trade for 40 years, and they're grumpy, they're pissy, they don't want to try new things, and they're always like, especially online, you can always tell it's like they're typing with an attitude. Like you feel it. Like you can feel it coming through the screen. Like their sort of persona and demeanor, right? So
Yes. Yeah.
how like you're the opposite of that. So do you have any advice for these older techs that have been in the trade for a while that have this sort of grumpy and pissy mood?
No, yes, I do. You know, I understand where they're coming from. Change is a difficult thing, and nobody likes change. I'm very fortunate uh, coming into this digital era. I find it very easy to adapt to, and with my training experience, I can train these crotchety old dudes and help them. I know that they are not going to excel in it. They're more looking for retirement than they are more training. But Gary, we've got guys working here that our youngest guy is 15 years in the trade. So, I've got 40. I think Mikey's 45, 48. The next guy down from me is 35. Um, and it's all about the attitude. It's all about how you felt moving through your career. If you didn't take advantage of the changes and learn in the trade, I feel sorry for the guys that are grumpy that are being forced to make the change, because now they just want to get out more. They want to get out of the trade, and we're losing these old brains and not having that ability to learn from them anymore.
Yeah, it's going to be a big loss. 100% it is, and you can see it now because there's people all over North America that are having trouble finding like technicians, not even just
Yeah.
technicians, just work people that want to come in and learn the trade. And yeah, I understand if you're a couple 5 years, I don't know, a couple years, 5 years, even 6, 7 years from retirement, and you're kind of checking out a little bit. I can understand that mentality a little bit, but at the same time, I mean, do you want to see the trade that provided for your family for so many years kind of dwindle and die off because uh, the attitude or the persona that's put onto to new technicians is a negative one? Because I see it all the time. Oh, this is millennial HVACing or whatever people say. It's always they're always putting down the younger generation for some reason because it's not like the way they did it. But I see it from the other side too. The younger generation, they bite back at the older generation because they don't like things like digital gauges or trying new things like a press tool or a weird product that they've never used before and they think it's a hack product. But these younger kids are finding success in using these things.
Right.
So there's got to be a middle ground somewhere. There has to be a middle ground, right?
Well, the young need to teach the old as well.
Yes, I agree. 100% I do.
Now, you talk about the grouchy old man that doesn't. You can read it in his text message. He doesn't work here.
Oh, I know he doesn't.
But on the same token, if he was training his apprentices, if he was training his younger journeyman should now be training him. He shouldn't be stuck in that grouchy. I do have a story, Gary. I probably got more stories than you got time. There was a gentleman, and I'm sure because I don't remember his name, but he was 76 years old and went out because his boss told him he had to convert this 40-ton machine over to TDX20. So he's talking to me on the phone. I talked to him for 4 days in a row because he would do something, he would find a problem. I'll call you back tomorrow. Then he would do something, he would find a problem. One of the things that he came up on the roof with was, I don't like these um, digital gauges. This is what I've got. And it's like, okay, tell me what you got so we're on the same page so that I can help you understand how to translate what you're reading. So he did. He actually picked up Testos. So walking him through where to put the probes, how to push the buttons to get the refrigerant, and by the time we were all done with it, he says, I've got a couple of more years that I'm going to do this, and because of your help, I understand how to use these gauges now, and life is so much easier. So it's all about who you can train and who is willing to be trained.
100, yeah, 100% it is. And I think everybody has that little inkling inside them to be trained again. It's just they need the right person to kind of walk in and open them up a little
Yeah.
bit.
And
And
we
you,
get him. I still get him. I get him through our website. They'll drop us a note as well. And I had one gentleman that was just like that. He was just a little bit grouchy about the app because it was a digital world, and I walked him. I could have emailed him back, Gary, but because I understand, and I guess compassion, empathy, but I
empathy.
actually called him and I walked him through the issues that he was having. And he was 30 seconds away from throwing the app out. He was just going to delete it because it wasn't doing anything for him. But a 5-minute phone call and walking him through what he didn't understand. And he kept it. He's used it. He's talked to me several times since.
Yeah, so you stepped in and gave him the information he needed to progress through it. And that's what a lot of people, they get stuck and they don't, I think a lot of people don't like reaching out for help, especially the older techs, because they have this kind of ego now. Like, I've been in this trade forever. Like, I don't need help from anybody, but they do now. Like you said, the younger
Oh, yeah,
techs
call.
need to teach the older. Like, my kids teach me stuff. Like, my son was saying, Dad, the internet is slow. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, I go, my bars are full on my phone. I go, I don't know what you mean. He's like, no, our speed is slow. It's down here. And I'm like, well, what's it supposed to be? And he's like, it's supposed to be up here. And I'm like, I don't even know that. And like, he's 12 and he's teaching me this stuff. So
Yeah.
it's the same thing, right? It's the same thing in a professional world, that as the new technology comes out and the younger kids are better with it. The
Yeah,
older
and I
generation needs to
patted the
listen
guy.
to them.
I pat the guy on the back. I mean, these gentlemen that are older than me, that have been in the trade longer than me, that are willing to take the time to learn. Your example of your son showing you something. I learn from these younger adults that I'm working with. It's like, you've seen the editing, you've seen the podcast or the Buckle Up series, and it's like, it's one thing to be the talent. It's another thing to look at what they're doing and piecing that stuff together to put it back out on YouTube or a different platform, because we're doing it live as live, and then sometimes you have to edit me because, well, I am a mechanic at heart, so some of our technical terms slip out every once in a while.
Yeah, there's a lot of technical terms that used to get used when I came into the field that actually are, when you get to a certain point, you're like, wait a minute, that was wrong. I like when I first started in the trade, everybody at my shop called a recovery unit a reclaimer. And then you get online, you talk, oh yeah, I'm reclaiming refrigerant today. They're like, no, you're recovering refrigerant today. And I'm like, wait a minute, hold on a second. And then you realize, like, holy, what else did I get taught that might be just a term that people used because they're comfortable with it? It's not actually correct. One, I got slammed for this. So, like, I've always called the 5/16 screws with the little drill bit on the end self tappers for years and years and years. And then I finally learned one day they're actually called self drilling screws. And I made a meme about it online, and I was just joking. And the hate comments that I got because nobody wanted to know that it's not called a self tapping screw. Nobody wanted to accept it, right? Nobody. And the hate was just flying at me that day, and people were
Oh,
like,
that's terrible,
yeah,
man.
they're like, if you walk into a supplier and ask for self drilling screws, they're gonna laugh at you. And I'm like, no, they're not, because look, it says right on the package, self drilling screw.
Yeah,
Anyway,
you got the pointy ones, and then you got the drill pointy ones,
that's right.
the drill bit ones.
Yeah. All right. So I mean, in the last few minutes or so that we're going to talk here, is there anything exciting going on at Bluon that you want to toss out there?
Oh my gosh, Gary. Every day, brother, we are constantly changing and updating and upgrading. Um, the app, the app just by itself has gone from tech support for retrofits to manuals for any machine, regardless of refrigerant, um, to our latest update, which now includes the forum. And they're already looking. I know the news story hit about Bluon and XREF, and that was huge. But the next step now in our forum is going to in the Bluon platform is actually going to be able to walk up to a piece of machinery, and you're going to be able to look up the parts right through the Bluon platform.
So when you say parts, are you saying, like, if you put the model and serial number in, you can get a parts list? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, not only are you going to get a parts list, but it's going to be broken down to what part are you looking at, and then are there. So here's the OEM part, here's aftermarket stuff here, and it's going to list them all to the point where we can actually go crazy and say I need to change a compressor, and it'll not only tell you what compressor you need to put in, what dryer you need to put in, but it's going to tell you how much Silphos to have, how much tape you need, how much, all these little reminders. It's just so much fun.
That's a monumental task, because you have and you're doing this for how many different units?
We have over well, Aon through York, brother. They're all in there. Every manufacturer, every unit that's in that app. So we have over 45,000 units in the app. So 45,000 units have to have their database of parts.
And that is happening. Is that happening through the XREF thing that you were mentioning?
They are, yes, they have. We're tying the databases together. So
Okay, gotcha.
as fast as we can get information into the system, then the faster we can actually add that tab right in the Bluon app.
Okay, so there might not be people that know exactly what you're speaking about. So you guys acquired this company, right? Is that
Acquired XREF. XREF is a huge database of HVAC parts.
that's okay? I've never heard of them before. Like, what before you guys acquired them? Where did they exist, and, like, where did they come from? Like, I've never actually heard of these guys before.
Well, their services tied into other companies, so other companies would use them, and I'm not being coy
Hmm.
I don't know all the names and I don't know all the players on who uses the XREF, but it is a resource for looking up. So there's companies that would use their database to look up part numbers, and that's how they found, like you go to a parts house, the parts house knows what parts they've got, but some of those parts houses could in fact be using their database
I see. I see. I gotcha.
for cross reference material.
Okay,
So
cool.
manufacturer has a two pole contactor, but Mars or Emerson or somebody else could make a replacement for that because they don't have the OEM part.
Okay. That makes sense now. Okay, so you guys are now that you've acquired them, so now you have this sort of powerful ecosystem of information that you can now add into the Bluon app.
Yep, and it's coming.
Very, very
Yep.
cool. Anything else going on besides the forum and the additions to the app? What's happening on the refrigerant side? What's going on there?
Yeah, refrigerant is, it doesn't stay on our shelves very long because it's not staying on everybody else's shelves very long. So as fast as we get it in, we're calling for a truck to deliver it back out. Um, so that part of it is still taking off very well. We're our distributors are now we've got distribution from coast to coast, and I'm terrible with the names, but I believe we have 3 companies up in Canada now that stock uh, TDX20 as well.
I know two of them. I know Independent Supply Company and HTS.
HTS.
I know those two. I didn't know there was a third. If you
There
could
might,
figure it out.
and the third person that I'm thinking of, Gary. Again, it's not in my wheelhouse for real. Um, that third person might be the actual disbursement person that I'm thinking of that splits up the refrigerants.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Gotcha. So I mean that's good that the and to speak quickly on R22 here, the situation. I had a coworker call me the other day and said, "Do you know that a jug of R22 is $1,200?" So that would probably equate to like I don't know maybe $1,000 or nine something in US dollars. So I don't know what R22 is going for there, but as an example, I think about 3 or 4 months ago it was at like 700, just 700 and change. And he told me the other day it was at 1,200 when he was inquiring about something at a supplier, and I'm like, wow.
It depends on where you're at in the United States. Our range is $800 to $1,200.
Wow, 1,200 US. Wow,
Yeah.
that's crazy. Well, you guys came along and made your refrigerant at the right time. That's for sure. Because I remember somebody said R22 will be around for our lifetime, and that
Yeah.
that was like somebody made that comment on social media. I don't remember I don't remember who it was, but that's the comment they made, and you can see it now that I know a couple people from our company have went into a couple suppliers and they laughed when they asked for R22. They're like, "Ah, no, like we don't have that." So
Yeah.
it's there. It's realistic.
So yeah, things are still happening. Things are still changing. The teams are growing. Our focus is support. So whether it be online, on the phone, showing up to a job site, whatever the case may be, we're that's our huge focus, Gary.
Awesome, awesome, man. Well, I'll let you go now, Brian, because it sounds like your your voice is struggling a little bit there.
Sorry, man.
No, that's okay. We've talked like we've straight up talked for an hour. So I appreciate your time and all the info, and I appreciate what you guys are doing, helping out all the young kids and even like you said, the 70-year-olds in the industry. You guys are doing a very good job. So So
Appreciate it,
congrats.
Gary. Appreciate your time. I think all the listeners, viewers that we've got, I mean, we're all blessed to have them, and like the ability just to give back, dude, it's huge. I say there's not a day I don't enjoy getting up and going to work.
Cool, man. All right, man. Oh, we'll see you on the dark side, Bryan.
You got it.
All right, buddy.
Peace, y'all.
Okay, bye.